Welcome, welcome. This is Chaplain Goyan, creative director of this revolution called the Healthy Path Forward. And I'm so excited now. This is volume number 2 dealing with emotional health. So, Emotional Health Volume 2 is entitled The Five Groups of People in Every Room. So, Volume 2 of Emotional Health is entitled The Five Groups of People in Every Room. Now, as I follow the trail of the anointing, so because in volume 1, I had no idea that I was going into volume 1, the preparation that goes into doing a segment like this. I had no idea that there was going to be now, excuse me, such an emphasis now on the authenticity of the room. But as I reviewed volume 1 of Emotional Health, laying the foundation, I saw where I was focusing on the authenticity of the room. Because what God was saying is that our emotional health is tied to the various rooms that we find ourselves in. And how we navigate these rooms, even if the room is like at home, but especially when you're outside of your comfort zone, because we all have our comfort zones, especially when we are outside of our comfort zones, are we now handling the emotional challenges that come with each room? Are we navigating these rooms the way God wants us to navigate them? And so, as I saw how important it was to the God, the divine, that I stressed on the authenticity of each room. I talked about it as I reviewed volume 1. I saw where I was dealing with the authenticity of every room that we're in. That the room now, for it to be authentic, the room must be, everyone in the room must be afforded now a safe space to share what's on their heart. And the more authentic the room, the more safe the room is for everyone to share what's on their heart. Now, this is how now we have a more pure experience. And so Chaplain Goyan now is engaged in a fight now for the authenticity of every room, where I go into my visits and I'm fighting for the authenticity of the visit. So as I saw that from volume 1, I saw where God was saying that I needed to do something with volume 2 concerning the room. And this is how this volume 2 was birthed, where the Lord now gave me the 5 groups of people in every room. So as we navigate room to room, you and I now must be mindful of the 5 groups of people we will meet in every room. And the idea is not to say you go into a room now and you're trying to see who is in which group. No, it's more so for you and I to see our evolution within these groups, and for us to get healthier and healthier as we navigate room to room. Even big, strange, unfamiliar rooms presents to us an opportunity. And as we deal with emotional health now, you can gauge how emotionally healthy you are by how you navigate big and strange rooms. So volume 2 here is dealing with the 5 groups of people that we will meet in every room. The Healthy Path Forward wants for you to be aware of them, be a student of them. So in volume 1, quick recap. In volume 1, you and I must be emotionally healthy. That was a key thing. So physical health is to touch your divine assignment. Emotional health is for you to handle it well. And physical health is for you to carry it well into your 90s. That's the overarching formula for this movement. But emotional health, you and I must be able to, you and I are emotionally healthy when we're handling our divine assignments well. All right? And so volume 2 now, I defined in volume 1 what emotional health looks like. Emotional health is defined as nothing hidden or exposed that is influencing thoughts, decisions, and actions in a negative way. So we have to be mindful of even the things that we are not aware of. How is it coming now to haunt my present experience? So in other words, God is the only one influencing thoughts, decisions, and actions. Because we can trust God now to influence us in the right direction. And Psalm 1:3 paints for us a picture of emotionally health, of emotional health. An emotionally healthy person in Psalm 1:3 is planted by the rivers of water and bearing fruit. So you're fruitful and planted. So emotional health now, again, is tied to the authenticity of the room. And so we reviewed that in volume 1 as we laid the foundation. And because the anointing is taking these volumes where he wants to take them, volume 2 now is dealing with the 5 groups of people we will find in every room. So here's a takeaway when all this is said and done. Emotional health is tied to the authenticity and competing voices in every room. All right? An authentic room is a room where everyone is afforded a safe space to share what's on their heart. That's a takeaway from this volume. The more authentic the room is, the more emotionally healthy the room is. And the healthy path forward wants to encourage you and I not to be just in the rooms that we're in, but to be a student now of the rooms that we're in. So this is what the healthy path forward wants to encourage us to do. To be a student, but not just be a student now, to influence the room, steer it towards good health. And the healthy path forward has identified in this endeavor for you and I to be a good student of the 5 groups of people that we will meet in every room. And they are distinguished now, so the 5 groups of people are distinguished by their voices. They are distinguished by their voices. That's how you see the 5 groups, and I will help you out with this shortly. It is important for you and I, again, key takeaway from this volume, for you and I not to just be in a room, but be a student of the room, but also to see your evolution and my evolution as we interact into the different rooms that life will present us. All right? So we must be a student now, not just be in the room, but study the room, study the people in the room, the movers and the shakers, study the room so that when it's your turn to contribute to the room, it will be a positive and healthy experience because you are emotionally healthy. So because the person might be very comfortable in one room, but find themselves struggling in another room, which is an indicator that you and I now need to really work on our emotional health from room to room. See, as we do life, this is how, as we do life, this is how we know how emotionally healthy we are. So, again, you're in one room and you're comfortable, but in another room, you're not as comfortable. So the healthy path forward wants to say, even if you find yourself in a very high profile room, watch this now. Are you confident in who you are and what you're bringing to that room? It doesn't matter now. You could be amongst a group of nuclear scientists or rocket scientists. And you could be in the room and you know that you're in a room now and the topic is not something that you are interested in, that you've spent much time in, but you should still have a calm about even being in a room like that. Because sometimes this room is not so much so for you to say something, but for you to observe and be a good listener. Observe the room, because even though something that is transpiring in the room might be way over your head, but you can still be calm and listen for the duration of the time that they're there. So the Healthy Path Forward wants to encourage you now to be in a room and not be intimidated no matter who is in the room. It could be the president of the United States of America. It could be a congressman. It could be a pastor, whomsoever. You must have a stillness about you, knowing who you are and not being hijacked by whatever personality is in the room. So the Healthy Path Forward, as you track with Chaplain Goyan, is huge about you being confident in what you are bringing. And even if you have nothing to share, it's just a matter of you being there and being a student and learning to go off and incorporate something in your life, and so be it. But don't go to a room and because someone knows more than what you know, you walk away now with an inferiority complex. That's not healthy. We can't know everything, but what you do know, you want to be confident in it. So here's now the 5 groups of people that you will meet in every room. And Chaplain Goyan has distinguished the 5 groups of people now by their voices. Let me make this clear for you. So group number 1, watch this. The first group of people that you will meet, the first group are people who do not want a voice. So that's the first group of people who do not want a voice. This is a group of people that are in the room, but their minds are elsewhere. They just want the meeting, the gathering, to be over with. They are distracted with the proceedings. And so we have all been there where we find ourselves in a room. We don't really want to be there, and you're being held captive now by what's going on. So you find yourself in a meeting, and if you're disinterested, you just want the meeting to be over, you are in a group of people who do not want a voice. Why? Because if you say something, it's going to prolong the meeting. So your idea there, you're in the meeting and you're thinking about something on the outside, you just want this meeting to be over and done with. That's the first group of people. You want this meeting to be over and done with. But the Healthy Path Forward now, here's a tip. Many times we find ourselves in a room, but it's not about us. Can you distinguish now when God now has placed you in a room, and it's not about you in that maybe you have mastered what is being communicated or you're completely disinterested. Ask yourself this question. The Healthy Path Forward wants you to ask yourself this question. Am I there now on assignment because, say, the information being communicated is important and you've already grasped it? But if somebody in the room now has not yet grasped this information that is important, now what you need to do now, if you find yourself in the room, is to be engaged or even present yourself to be as engaging now for the sake of the people that has not yet caught the information. Or maybe you are there now, the Healthy Path Forward, maybe you are there to support the presenter. Now, if you've ever presented to a group now, it's a challenging thing if you look at the group now and everyone is distracted and not even paying you any attention. It's very disheartening. So as a speaker myself, sometimes when I go to somewhere to speak and I might have 1 or 2 people who are interested in what I'm saying, I find I lock eyes on those people. I feed off those people. So the Healthy Path Forward is saying to you now, if you're in a room and you are amongst the group of people who do not want a voice, want the meeting to be over, ask yourself this: how important is this information for the people around me? And then ask yourself, am I supposed to be showing up looking engaged because of the presenter? Absolutely. I'll never forget, in my stint as a jail chaplain, Oh my God, I have a group of inmates now. I'm trying to steer them towards spirituality. That's my task as a jail chaplain. The most difficult group of people to engage. They're disinterested. And so we're trying to steer them now. I'm trying to steer them as a chaplain. And I had this group of inmates in front of me. And I had this information now that I was excited about. It was dealing with emotional health and how we must become a student of our emotional well-being. I was excited about this, but before me now was a group of inmates, and they were so disinterested. And I will never forget this one inmate that he and I had a good rapport. And he looked around at the room, and I remember seeing him now. He looked around at the room, at the disinterest in the room. And you know what he did? He came to Chaplain Goyan's rescue. I will never forget MT, because he looked around, and when he stood up and engaged the material, he made the meeting now took off. I will never forget that scenario. He saw me struggling in that no one was interested in my presentation. They didn't have a voice. They just wanted me to be done with what I was saying. But the information was powerful, but it was falling on deaf ear. And inmate MT saw me struggling and engaged the material. So sometimes you find yourself in a room, you do not want a voice. You want the meeting to be over, but are you there now to help, support the presenter? Because one day you might be a presenter. So if you find yourself in a room and you do not want a voice, you want this meeting to be done with, the Healthy Path Forward wants to encourage you now to ask yourself the information. How important is this? And how important is it now for the people around me to catch this? And I can be a distraction now by my disinterest. I'm on my phone and I'm doing all this thing while this important information is going forth. I on my phone now is a distraction to someone that should catch this information. So you're there now. If you find yourself and you're in this first group of people who do not want a voice, understand this now. Sometimes we are there, placed there by God to support the information. You have already caught it, but the people in the room need to catch it too. And sometimes, again, you are there to help the presenter. So that's the first group of people. The second group of people now, so the first group of people who do not want a voice, they want the meeting to be done with. And we've all been there. The second group of people now are people who need a voice. People who need a voice. The people in this group now are very interested now with the proceeding and the information. And they would like a voice, all right, or point of view to be, their point of view to be heard or considered. So you need a voice. These are the people, there are many reasons now. There are many reasons why someone might want or need a voice. The reasons are up to you, man. You figure out why you might need a voice in a particular room. But the reason now could be self-serving or a righteous reason. So you're in a room and you need a voice. You're there and you sense, you know what? I need a voice in this room. I need my voice. I need my opinion, my point of view to be heard. So this is the second group of people who realize now that I need a voice. The Healthy Path Forward wants to encourage you to think about this. If you find yourself in a room and you need a voice in this room, the best way to go at it now is to be a good student of the information. All right? The information being disseminated, be a good student of it, and be a good student of the movers and shakers in the room. All right? And also the people now in the room that have a voice. So you're in group 2 where you need a voice. There are people in the room who have a voice. So you're a student of the information, the movers and shakers, and you're a student of the people who already have a voice. If you find yourself in a room that you need a voice, the Healthy Path Forward is saying to you, you should be respectful of any authority chain or chain of command that currently exists. Be respectful of this, because people who have a voice, who have authority, a lot of the times they will shut somebody down who disrespect their authority. So be a good student now and be respectful of the people who already have authority and a voice in the room. And when it's your turn to speak now, you've been given an opportunity to speak. If you need a voice, you must now speak with clarity and confidence when it's time to speak. So if you find yourself in a room, become a student of the room, the movers, the shakers, the people with a voice. Be respectful of any authority figure in the room. And when it's time to speak, speak with clarity and confidence when it's your time to speak. Speak informed. You know what you're talking about, you're clear and you're confident, and this is how you get a voice in the room. So this is the second group of people, the people now. First group, people who don't want a voice. The second group now is the people who need a voice for whatever reason. The third group of people now is a subtle difference now. So the people in the group in a room need a voice, but there's a subtle difference now with group number 3. Group number 3 now are people in the room fighting for a voice. They are distinguished now from the people needing a voice because now their fight is so much more noticeable. All right? If you are respectful of authority and the chain of command, and you speak with informed clarity and confidence when it's your turn to speak, and you still do not have a voice, you are now in a group now of group number 3, where you are now. If you choose to remain now, watch this now, you're clear, you're informed, you're respectful, and you speak when it's your turn to speak, and you still don't have a voice. If you choose to remain in this room, you are now in a group of people fighting for a voice. This is distinguished from group number 2, people needing a voice, because now your fight now, your jostling is noticeable. The noticeable interjection, valid or not, is what caused for there to be a distinction between group number 2 and group number 3. The noticeable, watch this, the noticeable interjection. You're fighting for a voice, and you're noticeably now disrupting proceedings in trying to get your voice. So when you start to become noticeable, you don't yet have a voice, and you're noticeable now in that the group knows who you are, and your interjections now are expected, and they are commonplace, and they keep coming, and you are in the room now fighting for a voice. Health the Path Forward wants to suggest to you, many times people who are fighting for a voice have actually violated the authority or chain of command rule. Sometimes they don't have informed clarity, and sometimes they're lacking confidence, and sometimes their timing is off. You can't be just jumping up to ask your question or put forth your idea out of time. Folks are going to just reject this. So many of the times when we find ourselves, when I study rooms and I see people in rooms, a lot of times now, somebody's fighting for a voice, but they're disrespectful in so many levels that pretty much nobody really wants you in the room, man. And so this is why you're still there fighting. And so if you find yourself fighting for a voice, you just need to know when your voice matters. Know when your voice matters. And also know when it's time. Really, sometimes you got to know when it's time to disengage and leave the room. That's a tip for you. If you find yourself fighting for a voice, You call yourself being clear and respectful, and you're articulate, and you're informed, and you still are fighting for a voice. Maybe it's time to leave that room, or maybe it's time to just. Sometimes we just need to resolve some things on the inside of us. Sometimes we have personal things on the inside. If we just talk them through, because leaving a room because you don't have a voice, it might not be a good idea. You leaving because somebody's not giving you what you want, that might be a childish approach. Because remember, many of the times that as I said something in volume 1 of spiritual health, you are sometimes in a room and it's God's idea that you be there. Because when you are in that room now, it's much more than a physical presence. You're bringing a spiritual component to the room. So the healthy path forward now, if you find yourself fighting for a voice and you don't have one and you're in a room, don't get up and leave because you're not having your way. That might be wrong, because many of the times now, God have you strategically placed in a room so that at the very least, his spirit can be in the room. So many of the times now, if you find yourself fighting for a voice, it's because you need to make some internal adjustments. Not necessarily the people in the room need to adjust and see what you're saying, but sometimes, many of the times, the adjustment needs to take place on the inside for you to be benefited now by being in that room. That's very important. I could spend more time with this, but I must move on to group number 4. So group number 1 are people who do not want a voice. You want this meeting to be over and done with. You're disinterested. Group number 2 are the people who need a voice. They realize that this is an important room to be in. The information, I can benefit from this room. So they need a voice. So while you're in this room, understanding that this is a room that I need to be in, you also want a voice. And there's a need rising up in you now to be able to speak to the subject matter in this room. You're in group number 2. Group number 3 now are the people who are fighting for a voice because now their interjections now are noticeable, disruptive at times. And many of the times now they have violated something, either the chain of command, the authority situation, or they are speaking out of time and disrespectful. And so folks are deliberately now not giving you a voice because of how you present yourself. So group number 3 are the people who are fighting for a voice. I could say more about group number 3. Group number 3 is very crucial because there is a very interesting statistics out there about the amount of wasted times in various meetings. And group number 3 really is responsible for so much of the wasted times that we spend in various meetings where folks are fighting for something, and as a result, causing folks now to spend more time in meetings. So this research was done in an attempt to see how we can get folks now to not be so bogged down and spending so much time in meetings. All right? But I suggest the Healthy Path Forward wants to suggest to you that a good place to look is group number 3, the group of people in the room fighting for a voice, causing disruption and causing the meeting to go on much longer. Group number 4 now. So group number 1, do not want a voice. Group number 2, people who need a voice. Group number 3, the people who are fighting for a voice. Group number 4 now are the people who have a voice. These are the people, when they talk, you could tell that their opinion matters. People in this group now, their opinions, their ideas are sought after and is considered they have a voice. They are confident now in their voice. They're confident that their voice matters. This is the hallmark of the people in this group. You're confident that your voice matters. When you speak, what you say is taken in consideration. as far as the group proceeding. You have a voice. Many times, people who have a voice, watch this now, I see my evolution in this. So many times now, people have a voice, but they're not confident that they have a voice. And so they self demote themselves now to group number 2 or 3, and it's all on the inside. I've been there. In my journey as a chaplain, sometimes I was in the hospital and I was a little bit intimidated by the clinical group. And then there I was now, they are waiting for me to say something to enlighten them about spiritual health. But then I'm there now and I'm saying now, oh my God, what I have to say now is not that important. They're talking about these disease progression and blah, 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 blah. But they want to hear from me. And so I had a voice, but I was fighting with myself on the inside. Oh my God. See your evolution in that. That's crucial. If you have a voice, you have it. Represent it. Stand behind it. Know that you have it. Be confident in who you are and who you belong to and what you represent. So that's a major tip there. And then group number 5 now, as I bring this to a close. So group number 5 is a group of 1. A group of 1. This is a group now where this person is the voice. So group number 1, do not want a voice. Group number 2, people who need a voice. Group number 3, people who are fighting for a voice. Group number 4, people who have a voice. And group number 5 is a group of 1 where this is the person with the voice. When he or she speaks, everyone listens. A group of 1. I could say so much more about group number 5 here, because the healthy path forward, man, I have come to a place in my life as a chaplain where I want for everyone to have a voice. And so whether I'm in a group where one person is sucking up all the oxygen, I get very uncomfortable now in a room like that. It's an unhealthy room where one person now, everybody looks to one person. That's not healthy. And the healthy path forward now, if you find yourself in a room, and if you are that one person, you need to change the dynamics of the room and see if you can empower the people in the room to have confidence in their voice. The room is healthier. Decisions are better served. Decisions are better served when everyone has contributed. We're coming from different walks of life. And so many times our different walks of life now is going to bring this diversity to the room, which is powerful. Powerful. I find that many times now, it is staged now. Sometimes this one person who has a voice has staged the proceeding so that their voice is the only voice. That's a super unhealthy room right there. Oh my God. But sometimes now, there's just one person by default. Everyone in the room now just fades away and give one person the say because nobody in the room is confident. So it's either self-imposed or by default where one person have a voice. But either way now, if you want to help the proceeding, you have to help every voice in the room come to the table. So again, be a student of all the voices that tells you the different groups of people in the room. And in a powerful way, sometimes somebody have the voice in one room is fighting for a voice in another room. So interestingly now, make sure now, just be a student now, not of the people in the room, but more so of yourself and your evolution now. This is the main point of this volume here. Watch your evolution through these different groups. And so a key takeaway, emotional health is tied to the authenticity and the competing voices in every room. An authentic room is a room where everyone is afforded a safe space. The more authentic the room is, the more emotionally healthy the room is. The healthy path forward encourages you not to be just in the room, but also become a student of the room and to influence it, steer it towards good health. And so as you think about the 5 groups of people, understand this. When you enter a room, You must be confident in who you are and what you bring to the table, irregardless of what is being discussed. You're confident, and that's the hallmark of emotional health. So I'm Chaplain Goyan, creative director of this movement. We're just doing volume 2 here of emotional health. Review this volume. It's very important that you understand and become a student of the 5 groups of people in every room and see your evolution from one group to the next. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what's it's being discussed. You need to be present in every room, confident in who you are, who you represent, and what you bring to the room. That's the hallmark of emotional health. I'm Chaplain Goyan, creative director of this revolution called the Healthy Path Forward. We have just done volume 2 of emotional health, the 5 groups of people in every room. Study it, know it, and see your evolution. Until we meet again, as usual, walk good and treat people good. God bless you.